Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Raw Babes 101. We have a very exciting guest. I am going to do a quick little introduction, and then we're going to dive deep all the way into the universe. Just kidding. All the way. Yes. Okay. Welcome to the show, Ravi. Ravi is a poet, a truth seeker, and a spiritual freedom fighter. Ravi has a book called Red Pill Rhymes, a poetical awakening, which just even that, a poetical awakening, that's such a good freaking title on there. Okay, I'm going to read this cool little thing about his incredible book. Red Pill Rhymes is a collection of poems and rhyming stories that takes the reader down a journey through the inner workings of the mind and soul, eventually arriving at a truth and awakening about themselves and the world. It is the shedding of identity and a self-realization of how to overcome challenges while blowing the lid off our own perceived realities. Very honest in its tone, Red Pill Rhymes touches upon topics such as anxiety, trauma, spirituality, politics, creativity, government, media, and much more. It ultimately asks the reader one key question: are you awake? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Order your copy today. Link is below.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ravi.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So good to be here. I can just feel the energy and vibes already. I love it. I can feel it. It's so
It's not the
cool.
mushrooms, is it? Is it the mushrooms?
No, nothing on me yet. I wish. No, we're good.
You
Yeah,
feel my vibe then.
yeah, I'm feeling your vibe. Yeah, no, it's great.
TT.
Yeah, super excited
Ah,
to be here and chat with you and just have a conversation, unscripted, raw. I love that style, right? Those are the best, and those are the best podcasts, right? Those are the ones that give you the best, so the most listening pleasure and viewing pleasure is the ones that you're just not so much the Q&As. It's more like just let it go, right?
Let it
So
go.
and this
pumped.
is it. It's being able to be authentic. And
Mhm.
authenticity is the hottest thing you could be.
Yes,
Out of
yeah,
all the things, it's the hottest.
yeah. It's the hot commodity right now.
That's right.
Yeah,
So we can
Yeah,
hold that space and you feel comfortable enough to be yourself. We did our job.
yeah.
exactly.
Living it. You got to live it for sure. Yeah, I was just telling Kristen that my room is an absolute mess. So this section is this all you're gonna get because if I turn this around, you would see a mass of typewriters that I've collected over the past couple
Can
of
you
years.
show us, please?
Oh
Yeah,
no,
we
it's a mess.
You're collecting
that's
typewriters?
Here's a couple. Yeah. So I don't know
let's
if you
just
can
do
see
it. Come on, this is raw. We want your
This is
mess.
a non-judgment
there's two
podcast.
right there. I don't know if you can see those two
Oh
right
my
there.
gosh.
Okay, and then there's one up there, right up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably have like 11 altogether in my house. And
What?
yeah, I've always loved typewriters, always fascinated with typewriters. And we used to have one back in the day at my parents' house. My dad would make me write out all the stuff that he needed done because he can't type and still can't type. So we bang away on a typewriter, and so, but then I just got fascinated with the old ones, and I had a nice 1912 Underwood that's in my living room, and I've just been really fascinated with them. So, yeah, and
1912.
1912 Underwood, yeah,
Wow.
typewriter, and I have,
Ravi, I
yeah,
have to tell you something.
yeah,
When I was a child, I there was a period of my life because I was born in LA. I'm living in Canada now. And I moved when I was quite young, but I actually have memories of the time that I lived in Florida. And
yeah.
we were kind of all over the place. Um, and my grandma had a typewriter and I was playing on it. And I have this scar right here, right there. I
Oh
don't know
no
if you can
way!
see
I can't
it.
see.
Oh my God!
And I remember I was like, bam, 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 bam. And my finger got stuck in between and sliced it.
Oh my gosh.
So I actually haven't had to tell that story almost ever, and
Oh,
you prompted that. So that
What
was
the hell? It's like, yeah, redefine having your finger on the pulse there. That's
yeah.
cool.
And I was
Yeah,
about like maybe 2.5, and I
yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
There's a lot of these typewriters that I end up getting are from kids who inherited from their grandma or grandparents who had, and so it's so interesting when you go and pick them up and you hear the stories. And so
Oh,
oftentimes the story is like at least three of my typewriters have come from people who have fled like communist countries and were just, this is how they would express, or they were had a job as in, you know, in news or whatever, newspapers, and this is how they would. And so now when I'm picking up these typewriters, it's just like, oh my God, this is like I'm following in the footsteps in a way, even though I'm not
yeah.
using them. But it's just really cool to have them here, and it just adds to, you know, who I am. And you know, a few years ago, when you know, I'm a teacher right now permanently, and I've been teaching for about 15 years altogether. But there's been a shift lately, and one of those shifts was like, we talk about identify, was I started to identify as a writer first when people ask me what I do, and then just kind of say, oh, but I also teach. And so I'm kind of changing, and that's why I've got these typewriters around me to surround me, so I know this is a, you know, this is who I am. This is my
Yeah.
talent. This is my gift, and don't you forget it. And all these people that have used these typewriters, you know, had gifts too, and
yeah.
so you have to, you know, you owe it to yourself to share this gift. And also, I kind of want to learn how to use them awesome, so I can just like go around and bang out poems in these like old school typewriters. And it's so amazing because I've taken them to a few shows now, and they come up to you, just people's like, what is that? You know, kids will come up and say, what the, they have no idea. And then they want to type on it. And they just kind of, it's interesting because it's so
Well,
different than a keyboard.
Who
there's
doesn't want to push people's buttons? Come on.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I think, Ravi, I gotta add, I heard this thing and I thought it was so powerful. And it was, we are selfish to think that our gifts are for us.
Mm, yeah, that's a good one.
It
That's a
is a
good one.
good one.
Mhm,
It's true.
mhm. And how long have you been collecting typewriters?
This is a recent, and I mean, I had one for like 10 years, but then I just thought, you know what? I kind of want it in every room so I don't forget
Good
to
for
really,
you.
and now I have like, yeah, they're just hanging around, and they all have like interesting stories too. I have specific ones, like one, um, yeah, just famous writers that would use that style. So I would read up, oh, like which writer used this, or which writer used, which typewriter did they use? Okay, I want to make sure I get one of those in the house. So, um,
That's
yeah, I
dope.
just
That's so cool.
that, yeah, it's very cool. So
You-
there's so many different styles, and they each have the histories. But ultimately, I want to learn how to write properly on it, because when you write on a keyboard, you just do this, but on a typewriter, you really have to.
Press.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting because back then you didn't have whiteout, and so
Mm,
you had to be so intentional about what you were going to write before you actually hit the button. Whereas today, you just bang away and you can just backspace out. But on a typewriter, to avoid those mistakes, you really have, okay, what am I going to say first? And
Good for you.
isn't that like uh, an interesting ode to being mindful and present, and what we should be now is like be
mhm,
really thoughtful in what we're doing. And
mhm.
so sometimes the typewriter acts as that. Like you have to really understand what you're going to write before you write it down, and it makes a difference in terms of writing. So anyway, I'm just like,
It's
You
good.
you remind me of like when I started CrossFit. I was like obsessed. And you know what? I think it's like the 10 times rule. Well, there's that, but it's also really important to be obsessed with your work because there's
yeah,
so much passion that comes behind it. And that's what you share with the world is that passion. And people really feel that.
sure, yeah. When you wake up in the morning, like what is it, right? And so
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and I just love from 5 a.m. to about 7, I'm writing. Like I'm
Wow.
thinking about my writing, I'm writing because the the closest you can get to dream state, which is like the ultimate creativity, is like in your dreams, right? But the closest you can get is actually when you wake up, and you guys probably know that. So it's not when you're falling asleep because then you're not gonna do anything. You're gonna go to bed. But when you wake up, you're closest to dream state. So I found in terms of creativity and what I write, as soon as I get up, get the pen, start
Okay.
writing, and it's the craziest ideas you can come up with, stuff that you just never really thought you know. I usually wake up with an idea. I usually wake up with a word or something. It doesn't have to be about the dream. I just wake up and just think something. I'm like, yep, this is what I'm writing about today, and that's been a game
Cool.
changer. I know I'm going on in the process a bit, but before I used to do laptop and the screens in the morning. It's not
Yeah.
conducive to creativity. But as soon as I switched to pen and paper, which was about a year and a half ago, 2 years, my God, it's the best. You're just old
Kristen
school.
can resonate. She writes a lot, a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So I invested in a good pen to like make it more meaningful. Good paper. That's what else is
Yeah.
on the floor. I wish I could show you that too. Literally like 25 notebooks, just
Dope.
like
It's like
ready to
I
be
love
open. Yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
Okay. Let's share a little bit more about you, your story, your background, and then you guys wait because Ravi's going to spit out some rhymes and poetry, but it's completely different and unique than what you could have ever imagined. So stay tuned and hold on because he's going to give us a little show. Not to
All
put you on the
right.
spot.
Yeah, well, my story, like everybody else, where starts when you're a kid, and I just kind of fell in love with words and writing. I would probably argue that it was because I was grounded so much, sent to my room, and I wasn't really a big fan of reading. And back then, the only thing you could really read, or what I was told to read, was just encyclopedias. It's like it got boring after a while,
You ask
right?
your kids in your class what an what the fuck
Encyclopedia.
and
Yeah,
an encyclopedia is. They're gonna be like, what?
yeah. So it's so funny. Like back in the
Oh,
day, I could like, and there were American encyclopedias. So it's so funny because I could rip off, sorry, lots of stuff about states and all. I do all the states and stuff. It's like, what do you anyway? So because I would just read these things over and over because I didn't really have anything to read. But my dad would say, just go read, read. But eventually, I just started smuggling some lined paper in, and yeah, I just started writing words, usually like little stories and things. That's where I guess it would start, where it started, and my love for words. And sometimes I would, and I still do this to this day. Sometimes I would take the dictionary and just like find a word and like, okay, what's this word mean? Okay, cool. Can I use this in a little, or a part of a story or a poem or something? So that's kind of how it started. But yeah,
I know a few people have done that in my life.
yeah, it's
Yeah, I
it's
love
fun.
that. Yeah, you learn new words every day. That was the motto. It's like bring to school a new word every day.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's but typical like Canadian growing up. I love road hockey and hanging out with the boys and doing all those things and mischievous things growing up and getting into high school and then eventually you kind of run into some trouble and everybody's got interesting, unique situations that they would consider trouble, whatever we define as that. But as we know, when we get older, that's just life experience. It's not necessarily trouble, but and so it was a whirlwind. I went to university and I got kicked out, and,
Oh my God.
I got kicked
You're a
out. Yeah,
rebel.
Why'd you get kicked out? Come on.
so I
Give
got
us the
kicked out.
juice.
So it was so funny because I thought I was good at economics, but I clearly wasn't. So my major was economics, and I bombed 101, 102, like bomb, fail. And then I got a warning like, hey, you got one more semester here, or else you're out of here. And I bombed that one, and they're like, okay, you're out of here. But I just got back in a little bit of a technicality, thankfully, and turned my life around to just at least graduate and reassess what I really wanted to do, which was I wanted to teach because I had volunteered, and I love the creativity in lesson plans because I was volunteering at my old school, and it was so fun to create lessons. And so yeah, I thought this was an opportunity, and yeah, I became a teacher, and I've taught all grades from grade 2 all the way to grade 7, and
What's your
currently teaching.
favorite?
Grade 4 and 5 are the best, be the best, and so I'm teaching 4-5. I've taught 4-5 for about 5 years now, 6 years. I don't leave. I don't want to leave. That's the best grade.
Oh, and
Yeah,
why is that?
I was going
it's
to
just
say good.
because yeah, they have some level of independence, some decent conversations at that age, but also they're not into puberty and all that stuff as getting into that, which I've taught in grade 7, and it's a whole other type of personality. And it is fun to teach those kids too, but I really enjoy this grade. They're very impressionable, and they have some interesting questions for sure. So yeah, and then I taught, and then the world just kind of went upside down a few years ago. And I guess before that, I'd always kind of had some underlying questions about my own existence and my own the meaning of what the purpose of why I was here. And I've had some issues with health, I guess you could say, mental health, that brought me to my knees, and that was just kind of uh, clues that I never really listened to. I talked about this on stage at the summit. It's just you don't listen to them, you just kind of ignore them, and then eventually, the universe just sits you down in their own way. And we've all have so many of those stories, and we've heard those stories, and mine's no different. It's not unique, it's just uniquely mine. And I wasn't writing, I wasn't taking care of my health. I was, you know, not overly drinking, but partying way too much. And it's just, things didn't feel right, but you try to make shifts, but things get better, so to speak, and you kind of ignore it. And then eventually it just wore thin, and I wasn't sleeping very well. Like when I mean not well, like zero. And
Wow.
it just, I talked about that on stage too, that I still can't believe it to this day that I lost so much weight for somebody. I was like, I normally around 155, and I'd been down to like 113 or something. It was really bad. Like I looked really skeletal, like skeleton like, and that's when people started asking questions like, "Hey man, are you okay? Like what's going on?" And thankfully, opening up really helped to kind of take some time off. And anyway, ultimately, you end up taking some time off and reassessing. And my house was completely charted up. I charted my entire life on my chart because I really wanted to take control of it. I was reading crazy amounts of books, but really, ultimately, what life was telling me to do was go back home. And what that meant was go back to your gift, and that was writing. And so, of course, I did other things. I traveled a bit more, and tried to really take control of my health with functional medicine. So that's why so much of our crew, it resonates with me because of that kind of um, aspect of health, is just the ownership of that. But ultimately, what helped me a lot too was getting back to what I really enjoyed, and that was writing. And ever since then, yeah, it's been a joy. Life's been a joy, and things have been it's been amazing. I just can't. So that's why I'm so grateful to be here. Like grateful to have been on stage over there and that in Alberta, and yeah, it's just yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
And I didn't even put speaker, but we need to add that to your Instagram too, is speaker.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. So I was so nervous. I was telling Kristen like before we
Aw.
started, I was so nervous. I got some great help from a few people at the event to just kind of settle me down and ground me. But to go on stage in front of so many titans of wellness and freedom, it was like a big step for me. But I knew I had to do it, and because as much as a poet or a writer will say they don't really care if people read their writing. I mean, it's just not true. Like we really do want people to read it, and ultimately, a poet should be able to read their own work in the manner that they wrote it. And if you can't speak, you know, to other people, well, you got to work on it because it's a gift and you need to express it. And sometimes the words itself don't do it justice, I suppose. And this is evident because people had messaged me and said, I gave, my book to my husband or a friend, and they didn't get some of the words, but then when I started doing my audio reels, they
Mm-hmm.
really understood my tone of how it's supposed to be read. And so the stage part was just another aspect of me trying to share how it's supposed to be read. And I think people are really embracing the auditory way of learning. And so when they hear this, it was just, I just couldn't believe that it resonated with so many people and people were laughing. And I'm glad my jokes were funny because I just worked on them the night before. I had
It was so
nothing.
good.
I had nothing because I didn't know what to expect. And everybody's presentation and stage presence was like, oh my God, this is like super professional. Like this looks like a TEDx. Like, oh my God. So I
Except
was
you got to
glad.
swear. Everybody
Yeah.
was swear. That's like the best part.
Oh my gosh. But thankfully everybody's such a, a wonderful, caring people and understanding. But thank God it was the last day because I had like a few days to kind of like think about this stuff and, came up with some jokes and understood what I had to read. It was, yeah, what an experience. Thank you. Yeah, for saying that. Speaker sounds weird, but I'm down. I like
Yeah.
it.
Accept it and start to believe. You said can't believe, but now it's like I believe. We got to bridge that
That
gap.
I am that we
Yeah.
were talking about. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
speaking
guess I
the
am. When I say that, I'm just flabbergasted, right? I'm just
yeah.
because I applied to be a speaker again, and I just found out that I am speaking again
Woo!
in
Congratulations.
Calgary. Oh, and I can't wait. I'm excited to do a presence in a kind of in a different way this time. So I'm pretty pumped about it. I
Cool.
don't want to say too much about it, but let's just say it's going to be more of an experience as opposed to just me speaking. So I'm kind of pumped about
Yeah. That's leveling up, brother.
it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, can we talk about real quick going back to uh, your story where you were before versus now and that contrast? And I want to bring attention to it because it's a perfect example of what happens when we're not understanding or living in our purpose. We get
Mm,
quite lost in this metric world. There's so much going on, and we say this time and time again, we're so far removed from our roots and what brings calm, what lowers stress levels. If anything, we're living in a culture that it heightens everything, and we're being led to not knowing who the fuck we are. So how the
mm,
fuck are we going to find a purpose? We're not clear enough. We're not practicing that enough. It's been taken away. It's been replaced with media, expectations. We did this through magazines back in the day. Like remember
yeah,
Calvin Klein? Like
yeah.
that was the way women were supposed to look. Like
In Cosmopolitan.
yes, like how to no, is it how to date a guy 5 different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like
What? Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I like what you said there. Like, it kind of distracts from your purpose. It's like, purpose is now being replaced with pleasure, isn't it? So it's like
yeah.
all about pleasure now. And then what happens is our brain, I think, just and our soul kind of gets confused. We think, well, if it makes us feel good, then I guess that's our purpose. Now, I don't think anyone would be naive enough to say, oh, yeah, clubbing and partying like a crazy maniac is my purpose. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it, it, it directly detracts and distracts from what we're supposed to be doing. And because it's pleasurable, there's no need, there's no necessary desire to find that purpose, even though it's within you. It is within you.
You
because
fucking nailed it, buddy. That's I
you're
agree.
constantly
Yeah.
bombarded with pleasures from, and this happened years. I mean, it's been happening for years. Obviously, it's not just a new thing, right? We didn't have social media as much back then, but it would have been, things like booze and partying and uh, you know, other vices, drugs, whatever it may be. Um, Now it's just more prevalent because of social media, for sure, and the fact that we're holding our device so long throughout the day, and now it's just another distraction from what our purpose is. And so I love the universe. The universe is just the ultimate, and so even if you're lost, eventually you will find it. And we could talk about how you need to make shifts or stuff, but ultimately it comes down to the person who's willing to do that, right?
That's right.
And they're not willing to do that until probably something bad happens, and that bad may be something with the family or another loved one or a breakup, heartbreak, usually a job loss, something massive, financial. Usually that's what pushes people over to look inside themselves to find it. And now what also happens is with the lost souls is that they will veer outward to try to find something else for that to
Mhm.
compensate for that loss. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
And so if we can um, let people know that it is in here. Everyone has it. That even when shitty things happen, ultimately all answers are in here and with God, I
Mhm.
suppose. And like you're a vessel, and I'm just pumped to. That's why I wrote the book. I mean, there's also other reasons, but the larger message is that the larger
Mhm.
message is that for the book. I want people to read it and yes, feel the pain, and that rough ride that we all go through eventually, but also it's a message of hope that you actually have it. You have it in you.
Yeah.
That's right. Bring it home, baby.
Oh,
Love it.
and so going to that summit and seeing all these people bringing it home in different ways, that was the
Mm.
best. And the stories were the same. Didn't you? I felt like it was the same. It was like I was actually kind of worried that people were going to think I was plagiarizing the story. Like, Ray, I was very worried. Like, oh, well, I got the same story. Life turned me upside down. It was shit. I didn't want to live. All this stuff, and now here I am. But that's how it works. And it
That's
was
how it works.
amazing how so many different people in various fields were doing their purpose, right? So it wasn't just one thing. We had all sorts of people there doing different things. And that was an amazing, and poetry for me is just my thing, just my thing. That's all.
That is
Yeah.
right.
It's
And you
your
do it very well.
and your frequency and your codes, and they're getting into people's homes. So your gift is so massive. And I don't even think you even realize that how many homes, you know, you're going to be in, and washrooms and things, when people have those moments to just escape, and then you just drop all these codes. It's badass. And wait until you guys hear his poems. Like, your poems are just something else.
Thank you so much, and that's why I really want to get into more of the sound. We talked about frequency, the sound of it. So I've been posting poetry now on Instagram for about 4 or 5 years, really attacking it for the past 3 years. But only recently have I started to do the spoken word of it over top of some music and whatnot. But that really hits people, and so you talk about, well, my words are now, these codes are going to be landing in different people. Well, it's just even more so when I do it with sound too. So it's pretty sweet that, a post, for instance, people, will share it and love it and comment. And I love that. I'm so thankful for that. But when you see the difference when I post the audio and people, it's like 10x,
You
like
mean
Yeah.
the
10x.
audio of you reading it or speaking it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Like
that's
it's
how I
my
read.
words
That's how
with
I
with
do things.
yeah.
I've always struggled with reading like for a while. Like it's hard for me to get through a book. So since Audible, I have literally, I'm gonna do a reel on it and how many books I've fucking have read. Like it's
Yeah.
literally what brought me here, and it makes it so that my message sounds poetic because I'm
Mm.
so passionate about it. I know so much about it that I can speak with confidence.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ravi, well, first thing, I am excited that you're doing this because I'm definitely going to recreate your poetry and do a reel to it for sure. Not even a question. And I know Tiffany and I will too with Raw Babes as well. But can you, maybe it's time for you to put the red pill rhymes into an Audible. Has that happened yet?
Oh, great question. So the Kindle, the Kindle, I'm excited to put out in November, probably right before the holidays. So that's the Kindle version, because a lot of people have been asking when's the ebook come out, and it's so funny that I really not rushed it, but sort of um, attack that part only recently because Sarah's partner, Rob Swain, right? Yeah. Is He was out hunting and he says, "Dude, I want to read your book, but I can't flip the pages."
Yeah.
And so he's like, "When's the ebook coming out? Because I want to take it on me while I'm hunting, and I'm waiting, and I can just like tap the screen or scroll and read your poetry." And I was like, "Oh, that is so cool." Yeah, I never thought about that. But so the yeah the Kindle is coming out in November, but the Audible portion, the audiobook, I thought about it, and what I'm going to do is, and you guys can hear it first, is that uh, I am actually working with a DJ and producer, and we are trying to, in the next month or two, come up with a cool 20-minute or 25-minute, maybe even 30 uh, album of perhaps the 10, 15 best poems, or poems that I feel would really resonate with people, over top of ambient music, that will be
Ooh.
released on Spotify. And so
Ooh.
uh, so this is goes kind of hand in hand with what I'm hoping to come up with before June in Calgary, but that's in the works. So it's not necessarily the audiobook, but it is, I would say, an album, more like an album of the top 20 or so poems. And
Would that be considered, it wouldn't be considered an Audible book then? Or do you think you can get it on Audible?
Uh, I I don't know. I have not looked into putting it on Audible. It's definitely something that I need to do though, because you guys, when we talked about this before the show started, but you're not the only one who's sort of spoken to me about sound and frequency and how my voice is really something to kind of get out there a little bit more and expand and utilize. So these are all avenues that I'm looking at now. It's so funny because I have enough poetry to come up with another book easily, like easily. But what I'm finding in the years, the book's only a year old roughly, and what I'm finding is I don't think I need to release another book right now. Um, so
Ooh.
Did you see what just happened? Tiff, that's crazy. Yeah, this up, and the fact that we've got it recorded is so good.
I think he needs to do the Audible.
He Okay, he's coming back, guys.
sorry, sorry guys, sorry.
No, Ravi, this is a sign. This is a sign.
Oh my
We
God.
we don't mess with this. Like the universe just talked to you.
Yeah.
They just shut you down and they're like, buddy, get rolling on all of it.
Can you guys still see me okay?
No. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Oh, no, turn the other way. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. I got to remember to turn phone calls off. Sorry about that.
Just do not disturb.
That's what I got to do.
Yeah.
So you
It's all
guys can
good.
cut that out. You can cut that out if you can. But
No, we don't. We keep it all in. We're not
dang
cutting
it.
nothing.
Dang it.
So yeah, anyway, I've been getting a lot of feedback about sound. No pun intended, feedback there. And so I'm so excited to yeah, so excited to do this part of it. So yeah, I'm pushing a new release like I'm not even thinking about it. Because I really think my book has it's only scratched the surface in terms of getting out there.
Truth.
And so I'm really honestly so excited to explore a year or so with sound. And yeah, lots of things in the work in that realm and space. So I'm pretty pumped about it. But yeah, I can tell you I am going to be working on an album for it. And I'm so pumped because
Yes.
it's just when after doing reels with music, it's you can just really make even more of an impact.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So, and it's
Yeah.
just like hits you a different way. And my voice as well. I'm sort of like less self-conscious about it as more people tell me.
Are you
"Now
loving
I'm
it
really-"
more now?
Yeah, because I was very
Yeah,
worried about my voice. But when you
I
it's just
resonate.
different than maybe conversation voice where you're kind of like, I don't sound, how many ums and ahs am I saying? But when you're reading poetry, it's just like writing for me. I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying and ahs. I'm
No.
reading the work that I wrote and the way that I want people to hear it. Yeah, I'm zoned in and I'm really pumped to expand on that. So thanks for asking. Thank you for asking that.
I
Yeah.
love how many levels you're leveling up here. There's a lot of room for opportunity. And sorry to cut you off, Kristen, but
No.
I agree with you. Like, why be in a rush to pump out another book when you can still refine what you have? Play
Yeah.
around with that for a little while. I mean, that will set you up for the next thing that you put out or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like we're talking about leveling up. What am I really leveling up by just releasing another book? Like, well, okay, I know how to write a book now. I can make some changes that I felt I need to make for the next one, but really, what am I doing that's really leveling up there? I have another book. Well, I think with the audio portion of it, well, now I am leveling up because
Yeah.
I'm working on my sound, my voice. I'm working on stage presence for shows.
Yeah.
Working with the audio side, the producer and DJ, understanding like, okay, this is where you have to be with voice and how it can hit and land into people different, whether it's something that's super emotional and maybe upsetting or heartfelt, or maybe you want to be in their face with it with a
Mhm.
really big message. I'm really stoked for it. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm not my like secondary book. It's not even that'll come when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No rush. No rush.
Ravi, what just came to my mind, I have to let you know something. So, on Spotify, when you're listening to a music video and they're showing you a clip.
Yeah.
So we need a video of you because that's going to be like a video producer poetry because it's pretty much combining visual and sound.
So,
So
Yeah.
it's going to be bigger than you think. I can see you not only, like I said, on the stage, but a music video style incorporating the poetry, and then the sound of that music is just going to be so badass.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just really pumped for it. Yeah, I didn't even really think about that, but yes.
Hey, if you need some raw babes in the background, we'll be there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, I'm
your
just
backup
kidding.
dancers.
Yeah. But
But
no, like I can see it. I can feel it. Go for it. Just keep going. Use what you have and keep the other book there because it's going to just present itself, like you said, when it's time in that next moment when it's up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, you guys are getting me more excited for it now.
Good.
Even too. It's like, Yeah,
So
So much room for activities. Let's be real.
yeah, you're right. Funny.
So can we drop some poetry, some rhymes? Can you just put that hat on and
Yeah,
spit
sure.
out some
So
shit?
yeah, let's do this. So I guess I could probably comment on the process. Sometimes it's just a word, sometimes it's a thought, and I'll text it to myself quickly or write it in the morning and expand on it later. And sometimes I just think of a really interesting line, like, oh, that's a dope line. Let me write this line down, and I can build a poem around it for some reason. And that's kind of how they evolve. And sometimes it takes me weeks. And I think it's important that people perhaps realize that, when I post things or when I share things, like, it may be such a small poem, like, 8 lines or 12 lines or whatever it may be, but that is crafted with like really a lot of intention, a lot of thinking behind it. It's not, I can't say I'm a natural that it just would completely flow out and that's it, it's done.
Mm.
There's a lot of refining that goes in there, but I do love the editing process because you can really hone in on what your message is and make some really killer lines, and I love that part of it too. So um
You know what else I think is going to happen potentially? I
what's
think,
that?
well, I know even for us, I was like, it would be cool if you did poems for people, about people, or about their craft, or
Bro, Kristen, you and
Robin.
I just are fucking like
We're just so
synchronistic.
telepathy.
Because I was kind of thinking the same thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be cool if you went online and just asked people, hey, you got your favorite quote or something that you think you came up with yourself or whatever?
You
And
guys are like tapping into my brain right now because
Yeah.
so sometimes when I would say I'm stuck or I just like a little challenge, I'll just put out in my Instagram stories like, give me a word. And that happened maybe 2 weeks ago. I asked and I got like, I don't even know, 35, 40 words. And I've just been writing poems and posting them for people that gave me the word and tagging them and saying, hey, here's your word. It's in a poem, along with 5 other people's words or whatever. And so a lot of the last recent ones have been words that people gave me. And for me personally, when I do these more local shows and markets and stuff, that's also the goal, is that they will then be able to take a word or drop a word into a jar, and there'll already be a bunch of words, and then you pull one out, and then on my typewriter, I'm gonna write you a poem with that word real quick. But in terms of, for businesses or for people personally, yep, I just started. So the first few people have I haven't really advertised this or broadcasted this, but there's been a few people that I've reached out to and said, hey, do you want, a personalized poem for your business, or, whatever your message is for your business is, or you personally? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
We
sure.
do.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Like, I can just see this creation of like your voice and the poem and then us doing a reel to it. Oh my
maybe
God.
you could be our intro.
I
Yeah.
already
I don't.
thought that, Tiffany.
Oh my
Our
gosh.
intro for our podcast.
You're hired. You're hired.
Isn't
You
that
guys are
cool?
awesome.
Just
So,
collaborating.
see, and this is where again I need to shift a little bit because you guys are talking sound there too. And in
That's
my
right.
mind, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to typewrite these out and send them in a nice frame for people to have in their business or their homes. But look at you guys. No, no, I want the sound to your voice. And this is
Yeah.
the big shift that I need to think about because it's just not something that I've ever done. I'm just, banging out poems here, but I don't think about that part. So thank you for bringing that up.
You're in the right community, brother.
Yes. And you're so supported. And for us
Mm.
to collaborate, how beautiful is that? Like, we're like, let's push the limit. Let's keep pushing it. And of course, having it in your typewriter is important too, framed. That's beautiful. That's just another piece.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
everybody watching right now, you are seeing the blueprint and this magic unfold like right in front of your eyes. This is not behind the scenes.
It's
This is
true.
how it works. This is how it works.
Yeah, and yeah, it's all sort of coming together in that space for me. Like Barter, it's contacted me about doing something, and working with them would be super special because, I love those guys. And so but it's all coming together with this sort of sound along with the word, and it just, we're talking about sort of echoes and vibrations going out a little bit further, and as opposed to just written word that you read, but then it would fade a little bit, whereas the sound, can keep vibrating when people, keep sharing these reels, for instance. And so I love that, because all I want is for people to read my stuff, and or listen to my stuff, see the reframe there. And so I'm excited. Like I'm so pumped, and this is all like a catalyst for that, and coming here, like good vibes, right? So it's just,
Hell
I,
yeah.
yeah. So
Hey, if your surroundings aren't lifting you up, then they're pulling you down, brother.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So
And
I love, sorry to interrupt.
no,
Kristen, were you saying something?
no, it was crazy. It just came to my mind because I don't
Yeah.
know if you know, raw babes is raw awake women, but raw backwards is war. And it's like raw awake women help tame the war within, but in
Mm.
another way. Like,
That's so good.
I know it just came to me. So I'm like, I want to give you this stuff, like all of it. And then you're just going to go nuts with it.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna go bananas with it. Yeah, totally.
Banana
I love it.
Land. I
I
can't
love
wait.
it. I
Okay, let's
seriously
hear
love
your goods. Let's show
So
you
excited.
to the world. Oh my God.
it. So I love reading and so I've been on a few podcasts, and I love them because every time I come on, I get an opportunity to read a poem that I haven't read at a show, or haven't read at a specific podcast, or even on a reel or anything. So it gives me that time. So I appreciate you guys. So I'll read this one because it goes along with what we've been talking about kind of finding purpose and stuff in a way. So if for people that maybe aren't following, or don't haven't read my poems, I don't say the title till the end. And I encourage you, if you do get the book, don't read the title first, because it's at the bottom of every poem, and it kind of gives away some of it. I'd rather you read the whole poem and then read the title at the end, because sometimes that title just adds that extra at the end. It could be like a twist, or it could be something really impactful that you want to read. Sometimes it's a rhyme that rhymes with the last word. So I just want to encourage people to
Can we
to
guess
don't.
before you say the name of the poem? Can we guess what it is before you
You
say it?
could, yeah, you could. Okay, so here we go. I didn't know I wasn't ready, and certainly didn't deserve, but I extorted the universe anyway, and unwisely tried to reserve a sacred love before I put the work in, before I'd properly served. So God kept close tabs on me. A sense of alarm kept me unnerved. Eventually falling asleep, I died, and that gave rise and birth to a man with a new sense of purpose for being on this earth. A man who is sorry for everything, for all your pain and all your hurt. He'll have to live with this price of awakening for all that it's worth. That's that one.
Nice.
Any guess on the title?
Something came up for me. Purposeful Man.
That's interesting. This one's called Internal Alarm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Internal alarm.
Internal Alarm. Yeah.
Badass.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the
I
way
love
that you say it
that.
has that rhyme and it's that flavor. So it only makes
Thank you.
sense for you to read your own poetry.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm so thankful that you guys give me an opportunity to read. This is just like, yeah, and some of these poems I haven't read in a while, so it's kind of like an interesting, yeah,
Ah.
because I kind of stick with, quote unquote favorites, but I
Do
like
you
just kind of.
What
I'm
is your
go-
most favorite right now?
yeah.
I like one that's well, personally, I do like it because I just spent so much time on it. It's not necessarily, yeah, I guess you could call it a warning, if you will, perhaps a call to action, but more of a warning about what's happening in the world. And so it's not necessarily one that would, you know, I don't know, it wouldn't be uplifting, but this book is not fully like that. It is a story that will uplift by the end of it, but there are certainly poems in here that are like, ooh. So if you want, I can read you one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's get real.
You've got the control. You've got the wheel.
All right, here we go. No one cares about deep meaning or the big picture. To change perspective, we just download photo filters, phone apps to circle jerk edited bodies and curvatures, mass praise for hot asses. Everyone else is a flat earther. More screen time for whom we pine, opined as scripture. So gorgeous the lies, even God and truth are unsure. A tormented society, past fermented. We're overcultured. Echoes of James Blake retrograde and sad overtures. Caged wild animals turn replicants in Blade Runner, herded into high-rise buildings and neon structures, camouflaging real pain, hiding true hurt from others, going through the motions and drowning even further. Documenting emotional stress is the new life preserver. Self-loathing brings in traffic and trends much better. Electric zebras on a reality show filmed by Fincher, following blindly off a cliff for social media splendor. This one's called Dazzle.
Wow.
I really love this one because it speaks to social media and that kind of culture of, you know, we hide our pain, but then when we want to express our pain, sometimes when people will do that for fame and for likes and clicks and so I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about how everyone's using photo filters and I love the fact that we're just raw and unscripted here, and that's the way it should be. And I do love the title too, which is so interesting because I call it Dazzle, and this is why I love the craft so much in poetry. At face value, dazzle just means, sparkles and brighten and whatever. But actually, dazzle is a group of zebras. And I
Oh.
didn't know that. So when I talk about electric zebras on a reality show, falling off a cliff altogether just for social media splendor, I didn't know. Like I looked up, yeah. So I was like, zebras are in there. And then I'm like, well, what's a good word for all this? Well, dazzle. But then I looked up, what's a group of zebras called? Oh shit, it's dazzle.
Whoa.
Right. So it's kind of like, okay, how am I going to title this? Oh my God, group of zebras, dazzle. This is perfect. So I really love that one. That's
You know
one.
what else? Crazy.
Yeah.
When I think of a zebra, I think of a jail cell, and what back in the day people in jail would be
Mm.
wearing was white and black stripes.
Whoa, I didn't even think of that. That's so
So
interesting. Like the bars
that's
too. Like
right.
even just the bars.
That's right. And then they're caught in a
Mhm.
jail cell, which is they're caught within themselves, and they're
Mm.
stuck in a cage and in jail where it's like the roof is completely open and they can climb out at any time, but they don't because they
Yeah.
can't see it. They can't see past themselves. And that's like the filters and all the things.
Yeah. It's so
And
interesting.
one other
That's
crazy
okay.
one, yes, one other crazy thing. So since I was, I don't know, like in my 17, 18s, I always heard the word circle jerk.
Yeah.
So you fucking pick out of every poem to read on our show, because Tiffany and I say circle jerk all the time, Ravi, all the
I've
time.
even said it on like DMs, and the response I get is like, "What did you just say to me?" Like circle jerk. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's like how we talk." I
This
don't
is
know.
normal for us.
That's
And
so
and
funny.
because we've held so many circles and healing events, we'll just be like, oh, I'm like, oh my God, that's just a circle jerk. And
Yeah.
we always say this, and
It
you
could
read a
actually
poem.
mean both. Well, it's usually like coming back full circle too. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I know this person, and then all of a sudden everybody just that's a circle jerk too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny. And I love that about poetry, thank you, is that you have these sort of interpretations of and how it lands for you.
Mm.
And it's so interesting because obviously the zebra and their pattern, it's camouflage. So we wear these skin layers so people don't see our real selves. But then we also complain that we don't get attention. So that's why I love this poem, because you have zebras, right? Like humans being zebras with the skin, and no one can see you. And the only way to get attention is, well, I guess I'll just jump off a bridge and maybe somebody will film it,
Mm.
And I don't want to trigger anyone, but that's really what that poem is. I will do anything to get attention, but at the same time, all you really need to do is just kind of shed that skin,
Yeah.
is give us the real goods instead of doing all that. So there's a lot of, I love the layers in that one. So thank you for letting me read. I don't normally read um, the last poem in the book, but it is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So
And it's special for our show. We're just
yeah,
we're not like anyone else.
yeah, I don't know how much time we
We're
have to read, but maybe I'll read one before that, and then I'll read that one as like a one to send off. Yeah, and again, if people are interested in the book, there's like, if you go to Amazon, there's like a preview page, and you can see the first two poems in the book. And I fucking love the first two poems because they're just intros. And if it's like you don't want to go further, that's fine. Don't buy the book. But it's like a dear reader, here you go. This is what's going to be in this book. You win or you out. And so if they just want to read the first few poems to see what the style's like, go for it. Like there's a free preview, I think.
The
Um,
disclaimer. That's your disclaimer. That's your like weeding
yeah.
through the weeds, as Tiffany would say.
yeah. So yeah, you know what? I'll just read that. I'll just read one of those. Yeah. So okay, here we go. We're taking this book old school, raw connection over sentence size. It's soul food, a cold hard brew. You can taste the idioms and rhymes, writing that puts you in the mood, letting loose inhibitions to give rise to the rebel inside, a good excuse to run stark naked in the woods outside. Skinny dip into a knowledge pool, head first, in search for reasons why. Drink words from a fountain of youth, quench the thirst that frees your mind, a non-linear journey to your prelude, invoked by thought-provoking lines, poetically probed until you conclude there's pleasure in the ill-defined, and explicit lyrical design to produce a mental and spiritually induced high. But before it's all misunderstood and the author gets much maligned, here's a warning should you choose to unleash the divine beast inside. Language used may be foul for a few who devour this feast for the eyes. Reader discretion advised.
What?
So good. And you said raw. You said raw. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like a little tidbit just to get, because I understand some of the words might trigger people. There is some political undertone in some of the poems, not a lot. I didn't want this to be a Twitter rant. Like I don't like that's not going to do anything right now.
Are you on Twitter?
I am, just because it's fun, but in terms of like rants, I didn't want to make a book about that kind of stuff. It's a divisive world. There's it's just tribal, and I didn't feel like I wanted to be super loud and just, why would I want people to throw the book on the ground or whatever. I want people to feel by the end of it uplifted. And if you don't agree with some of the messaging, I understand. But what I say is, you may not agree with everything I say, but you might like the way I said it. So, right? So have a read and you might kind of like it. So yeah, I'll read one more, and this is also one of my favorites. It is the last poem, and it does give you a kind of a full circle of where you've come from. And like I said, there are some somber ones, some somber poems, and some stuff that's pretty raw. and my story in there is not different than others, but it's there, and there is some in-your-face stuff. But eventually, if you kind of read it, you'll see the path that's going on. But here you go. Painting in darkness and shadows got you hurt and confused, splashed from a journey of chaotic element and color values. A minor setback, unbeaten paths are what you still choose in order to find the yellow road of starry cosmic molecules. So it's up, up, through a violent, violet vernacular vacuum, a vortex of hunter green, higher speeds and higher altitudes, filled with pollock-coated drips and subtle gray Monet hues. A splattered squall off the coast mixed with purple blues. It spits you toward a golden landscape, home in God's womb. There's meaning past the crimson sun. You fly right through. A geranium maverick orange infuses you as your own muse. Set ablaze, a glazed blend of urban and spiritual Kathmandu. Not dying or dead, but an animal licking blood-red wounds. You look down, then within, and feel grounded in hard truths. Click, click, you're still in Kansas. The storm was inside you. Answers never too far away. You were wearing the clues. Ruby shoes.
Wow.
I love,
Thank
love.
you.
Yes.
You were wearing the
Aw.
clues? You were
Yeah.
wearing the clues. Holy shit.
Yeah, the whole time. And you'll know when you read the book, and I love film. I don't love Hollywood, but I love film, and Wizard of Oz is definitely one of my favorite movies. And
Hell
just 'cause
yeah.
there's so much in it. It's like dark and twisted
Yeah.
too, along with all the kind of fun stuff. But so yeah, I really wanted to end on that. And so it's interesting because the picture is, you think ruby shoes, oh, they go high heels, but actually, it's just like some sneaks there.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Converse. Let's go.
Yeah. And so the art in the book, by the way, I should mention, my sister did all the art in the book. Um,
Oh,
and and that was like one of those things where it was so funny because we were in a coffee shop. I was working on my writing, and she does kind of graphic design stuff a little bit and patterns, and I'm like thinking to myself, who the fuck is going to do the art for my book? And I'm like, just like thinking, and I'm like looking up at her while she does. I'm like, and I've been thinking about this for months. And I'm like, hey, she's like, do you want to hang? I'm like, yeah, okay, let's hang. And we're hanging, having coffee, just doing our thing. And I'm like, hey, do you want to do the art for my book? She's like, all right. And I was like, hey, here's the first poem. Can you draw? It was, I think it's called Empty Nest. Empty Nest. I'm like, can you draw a nest, like a cool nest in the way you do it? And she's like this, and like a few minutes, like, yeah, that's what I need.
wow.
Can you do the rest of the book that I need? She's like, yeah. So it was
Yeah.
so fun. And so I got a chance to work with my sister, and that was cool, getting us
Yeah.
closer and working on the
Special.
creativity there. So that was super special. So yeah, I hope people enjoy the read, and something they can take something from it. That, like I said, even if they don't resonate with some of the political stuff, if the aversion to that. But I think for the other stuff, it's like it's life. It's someone's story. It's my story, and it should be able to resonate with many people because
I
it's
agree.
not, yeah, it may be uniquely said, but it's not uniquely it, it's not unique. People have heard these stories before, but in the way I say it, I hope that it's interesting and fun too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what?
It's
Coming out
beautiful.
with a passion, you will just attract whoever you attract, and they'll be the right people anyways.
I
To
used
worry
to really
about,
yeah.
yeah, to worry about all the naysayers and those who don't agree. You're right, like, of course, but that does not need to be your disclaimer. You just have to trust, and if you don't fucking like it, take a hike. Like,
Yeah. Well, and
you're not gonna be everybody's fan. Like, I don't know,
I
right?
wanted to help the cause too in our fight for freedom of expression. I'm big on that. Obviously, as a writer, like this is a big deal for me. So when censorship starts to happen, and I see it happen with, the convoy, and I start to hear, with other people being canceled, I'm like, oh shit, I want to write something to kind of like help the cause here. So that's why
Mm,
I wrote it. and this is my ode to freedom, I suppose you could say, but it's also an ode to writing, the process, and it's my life story. So,
It's
yeah,
beautiful.
and I also view it as something as a gentle nudging too. So for those people that are still kind of like a little bit sleepy, maybe this nudge will help you kind of wake up to what's going on in the world. Although even though it's hard to imagine people are still kind of sleeping to what's happening, there are, and streaming doesn't work anymore, as you guys know. It doesn't work, and so and clearly proof doesn't work, and pictures don't work, and stats don't work, and nothing's working, and so. I didn't want to make a book that was specifically just, like I said, a rant. It's not going to do anything. So
No.
I want to make it more softer, with some hard hitting poetry in there too, but soft enough that people would go, "Hey, that's a good point," or "Whoa,
Mhm.
interesting. I didn't think that."
Mhm.
So yeah.
It's almost like you got to skim the surface a little bit for those who have not seen the full spectrum of the picture yet.
Mhm.
It's almost like it would be a disservice to just put it all on the table. You
Yeah.
want to keep the wonder and keep the curiosity alive. And I think with the subtleness, not so subtle, so the not so subtle will attract the right people, but the subtleness will gain that traction of curiosity and soft-heartedness, because there is a lot of love in it. And seeing your passion, I'm so glad you just added that part of your why, because that was part of that what was missing out of this whole conversation was your
Mm.
why, and why you are so passionate. And just hearing you say that just says it all, really. There's a lot of wonder why, and a lot of questioning, and maybe we need to step into our power, into our own passions, and worry about this vessel in the way that you did, so you can step into your passion,
Yes.
find your purpose a little bit, question things, question everything, but in
Yeah.
matter of
Yeah.
right?
And question your own life and your own
That's
existence.
right.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I love that it was a lot of darkness in the last few years, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm blessed that I was able to do this. Like it all sort of came together that way, and we got a lot of work to do in our world for sure. We're all
Yeah.
coming together community wise, but I think the more people that wake up to their own passion, their own purpose, oh my God, it's going to be unstoppable.
Well,
Yeah.
Ravi, Sarah said this perfectly on stage. If that those last years did not, we're not going to give it power right now, but we are in a sense that we're almost should be grateful for it, because if it didn't happen, we wouldn't have got together as a community. We wouldn't
Mhm.
have met.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have surfaced our shit, so that
Yeah.
we could see that this is not the be all end all. There's got to be more. What parts of me have I not been looking at? What
Yes.
parts of me can I get real with? Let's step into the authenticity. And that's where the creative juices come in, because now you're trying new things. You're learning more about yourself. You're practicing self care, self love. That's where the passion comes through. The purpose comes through. That's
Yeah.
what brings us peace and happiness. We're not running around slaughtering, because I mean, obviously we don't live in those back in the days, but I mean, slaughtering online, speaking with hate, with the
Mhm.
separation, and creating more war outside of what we already got to deal with
Mm.
inside of us. Let's
Yeah.
fucking deal with what's happening in our heart first,
Mm.
instead of spitting hate and more separation.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful job, Ravi. I'm so fucking pleased to have had you on the show, and I'm honored. I'm honored to be a part of this growth process with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Oh, thanks for saying surfacing the shit. That was a really good visual.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. And it just reminded me of one of the poems I wrote in there called Shitstorms. So there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, enjoy the ride. So yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. So
Yeah.
I think we're in the right direction and we're coming together. I'm pumped. Yeah, I'm so jacked for this.
Yeah.
So
Good.
thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. What do
Um,
you got, KK?
I'd like to pull a card for you
Okay.
if I have your permission, which I know I do. And yeah, thank you for just being you and answering the call and saying yes. And, going through the darkest time of your life to find your light. That's what it's all about. You found your light and now you
It-
get to share it with the world.
It's such a good feeling. Thank you.
So
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, good job.
Okay, so let's see. Any and all message that needs to come through for Ravi to please come through for your highest and best good. And I like to just let the card fall out. So
Okay.
I don't manipulate shit. This is all energy. So this is messages from heaven communication cards. And
Okay.
I like to say heaven, but it's right here. It's on this dimension. Our loved
Mm.
ones, our spirit team are with us. There we go. Okay. I knew there was two. I was like, I'm not going to stop shuffling until card number 1. Continue to grow by seeking new knowledge. We applaud your efforts. And it's number 43. So 43 for me and Tiff is just a very powerful number. And it's cool because here's, the seeds, planting seeds and watching
Yeah.
it grow. And
Mm.
everything that you've planted since a couple of years ago is now coming into form. So don't ever underestimate your darkness. And when you can't see what's being birthed under the ground, like the root of a tree, it has to go fucking deep to be able
Yeah.
to withstand the test of time and the growth to reach the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is so powerful. And then the next one is 22. Another, what the hell? What were we just talking about? Take the time to pamper yourself or let others take care of you.
Mm.
We were talking about this before we started recording on getting grounded. Tiffany pulled that card, doing your self-care, self-love, and pausing to
Yes.
really connect. And I'm going to read what they're just beautiful messages, even though I've already pretty much said it, but we'll read. Okay. Training, lessons, classes, courses, and exams. Read, listen, and learn. We never stop growing, and even the most educated of us are learning new things every day. Each of us has our own individual skills and abilities. We are all unique. Everyone is good at something. So if you're not sure what your skills are, keep looking. Your loved ones are proud of your efforts to keep learning and growing. They say, we support your continued striving to learn new things. We are proud of your growth.
Oh, awesome.
And number 22, here we go. Go on and spoil yourself. You deserve it. It's all very well helping others, but balance comes when you treat yourself with the same kindness. Do something lovely for yourself. It's your turn, Ravi. Your loved ones say, indulge in a luxury treatment or find a way of pampering yourself. Give your body the care it craves.
Mm. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
We did. We did. There's a lot of tools to pick from.
Yeah.
Love it.
And you can bring them in seasonally. Some you're going to be attracted to some more than others. And for those listeners, what we're saying is like the tools of self-care. There's so many. There's so many out there. We were talking about sound bathing. That's one. If you like nature walks, journaling, swimming, I mean, anything that
Breathing.
actually brings joy into, yeah, and it raises your frequency is the way I like to describe it, because sometimes we can get lost in the joy part if we're still stuck in the distractions and what we were talking about earlier. So I feel like anything that would help raise your frequency would be the best way to describe any of those tools. And there's just so many.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Thank
Yes.
you. Thanks for pulling those.
Yeah, thank your team. They wanted to communicate and know what you really need to push you further and to
Mm.
really break through the next ceiling because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I look forward to really connecting more with the community and making this happen for
Yeah.
not only myself but for others too. So really
Yeah.
awesome to be. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll get you back on the show when you've got your little performance together with
Oh, I
some
can't wait.
sound. Let's do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Let's do it.
pumped.
And if you just want to share where people can see your stuff, your
Yeah.
social.
Yeah, so my main social is Instagram, RK Gandhi, and it's a very unique layout. So I hope people appreciate the time I've taken to curate that. And it's really inviting, and I hope you enjoy the poetry. And I post quite a few times a week, like 3, 4 times a week, different poems and then now I'm doing more reels and hopefully you enjoy those. You can also go to my website. It's redpillrhymes.com, and you can learn more about me and the book, and you can purchase the book on Amazon, any Amazon uh, location, I guess, depending on your country. Yeah, and the Kindle's coming out in November, so if you're into ebooks, that'll be available in
Awesome.
November. So and yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that
Yeah.
Spotify.
Woohoo,
Uh,
we're excited.
yeah, pretty
And
Quick
pumped.
question. Oh,
red
sorry.
pill. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say before we sign off, if there is this magic message that if you could think of something to give our audience, something that
Hmm.
lays deep and close to your heart, what would be the either quote or advice you would give people?
What's really resonating right now with me is the idea that, it's a Rumi quote, and he says that if darkness has surrounded you and that's all you see, um, perhaps you're the light. So that really is very simple, but I think sometimes we forget this. And
Mm,
in our world right now, it's a crazy time. And you open up social media, you see a lot of things now, especially what's happening in the Middle East and things. I think it's important to understand that with all the darkness that's here, um, you are the light, and you can be the light. And um, I'm just, I really hope that people take that message from the book, but also on a personal level, just understand that.
mm.
Because we're just filled with so much darkness right now, and we really need to be be understanding that we are the light. We can be the light. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's beautiful. No, say that in so many other ways, but you said that in such a beautiful, poetic way.
Yes.
I wish I could take credit.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you
Thank
so much for being here.
Oh,
Yeah.
my pleasure. We'll chat soon.
All
Yes.
right.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Much love. Bye.